Guys, welcome to Coding Ambitions. Today we will learn about Kotlin Multi Platform. So we'll be starting this series. So in the Kotlin Multi Platform, we can write cross-platform apps for Android, iOS, desktop, and web. So what exactly is Kotlin Multi Platform? It is an open source technology developed by JetBrains, right? So basically it uses some different compilers for compiling the app for Android, iOS and desktop and web similarly. So for desktop and Android it uses Kotlin JVM, but for iOS it uses Kotlin native, and for Kotlin web it uses Kotlin JS for web, right? So basically it is single language we can use for multiple platforms, right? So there are two ways we can create Kotlin multi-platform project. So first one is shared logic and keep UI native. So we will be sharing logic only and UI will be native. Let's say for Android it will be Jetpack Compose. For iOS it is swiftui, right? Second way can be shared both logic and UI. So here we can create like for Android, iOS and desktop for all three, and for web as well. We will be sharing all the UI and everything, right? But for this compose multi-platform we will be using, that is stable for Android and desktop currently, but for iOS that is in alpha, right? So but currently we will be working on this side, and in the upcoming video I will be covering this one as well. So let's continue with that. So there are two ways we can create Kotlin multi-platform project. First one is like we can go from here in the Android Studio, we can create Kotlin multi-platform app and then naming it and all other things like doing this, but we will be not using this way because now this is the recommended way. So we will be preferring this way because this will be like avoiding you from many some issues as well. Sometimes we face some issues in this side with Kotlin multi-platform. I face some issues, not sure it will be with everyone, but sometimes compatibility and some other issues arises there, but this will be like providing, this wizard will be providing you some everything updated over there, right? So I'll be continuing with this. So let's start with this, but before we start let's discuss about some prerequisites for working with Kotlin multi-platform. So first of all, MacBook should be, you should have the MacBook, and second one, Xcode should be installed, and third one is Android Studio will be installed, Android Studio, Xcode, and Kotlin multi-platform plugin should be enabled in Android Studio. So these are few prerequisites, and you should be knowing about the Kotlin language for working with Kotlin multi-platform. So let's continue with this. So let's give it a name, KMM app 1 dot KMM app 1 and you can see which platform you want to use, Android and iOS. We'll be currently will be doing only for Android and iOS, right? So in this video we will not be sharing the UI, but we will be focusing on only the business logic, but using the native UI for Android and iOS. Similarly, you can see it supports desktop and web as well, but for the web sports not currently enabled, it will be enabled later. For we can also enable server side, for that it will be using Ktor for server side creating APIs, but currently we'll be focusing on these two sides, right? So let's create this. So let's copy it and paste it here, extract it. Now let's open it. Let's go to KMM tutorials, KMM app 1. Let's open it. It will take some time for downloading the dependencies. So meanwhile I will let you know about, so for networking side, we use the Ktor for Kotlin Multi Platform, right? So this is some information regarding the how we can create Kotlin Multi Platform apps. So few things are over there. It is like for the initially you can continue with simple project. It supports Ktor and SQL Delight local database as well, but we will be focusing on only on the using the networking. We'll be calling the simple API and then showing the data from that API in both Android and iOS side. So if you see, we need 2 or 3 dependencies related to the Ktor. So client core, content negotiation. So this is for content negotiation is for if you know about APIs, like we need some accepted content types over there, like accept is the type of data API is accepting as its response. Similarly, content type is for like what content we are sending, right? So for all those things, this plugin is used. Similarly, for Ktor serialization, this plugin is used. This is extension with kotlinx serialization and kotlinx core. So for Android and iOS, so we need different client for Ktor, right? For few libraries we need these things, but the libraries which support Kotlin multi-platform, now most of the things are implemented in themselves, right? But for few libraries these separate dependencies are also needed, like Ktor is over there. For that we need, and this is for coroutines. And let's go back to our project. Yeah, it is successful now. So let's try to run it. Let me go through this. So you can see compose app and shared and iOS app. So these are 3 directories over there. So shared is only the business logic here. So few differences are, first of all I would like to mention one thing. If you might have created the project with the Android Studio side, which I recently showed in the beginning, project might have been a little bit different over there. But here we have different. Here they have moved everything related to compose inside this directory and shared business logic inside this directory. So you can try out both versions and see, but I will be continuing with this one because this one is now official one as well, and it is easy one as well. So you can see everything related to compose is inside this. So and also meanwhile we run the app, so it is working as well. You can see. Similarly, while discussing other things, let's continue with iOS app as well. So if we go here, you can see Android main. So this is for Android app, right? Similarly, if we would have enabled this port for desktop, it would have shown desktop main here. Similarly, if we would have enabled this port for shared UI for iOS as well, then it would have shown iOS main as well here, right? Similarly, common logic will be going inside, business logic will be going inside this. Similarly, right, for Android, iOS and common will be the common Kotlin code which will be shared between the platforms. So for Android main, if we want to write platform specific code in shared module, we can write inside this, right? Similarly, for iOS, if we want to write platform specific code for iOS, we can write inside this target, right? So let's come to one class. So if you see, it is running for iOS as well. So both Android and iOS, it is working fine. So let's just give you an overview of this. So this is suppose I'm creating example, creating class. So it is calling the get platform method over there. So if you go to that, it is expect. So expect actually is the concept which we use to implement platform specific codes, right? So in the common module we define this expect means it is expecting this method's definition from its the required platforms, right? For Android it will be expecting this implementation from Android side. For iOS it will be expecting its implementation from iOS side, right? Here for Android here. And how it will be implementing is we need actual keyword there, actual fun. So and then its implementation, right? Here we can show like some build.version Android specific code. Similarly in Android side we are using the iOS specific code. Sorry, in the iOS side we are using iOS specific code. So this UI kit is provided by Kotlin native. Similarly for Android side it is the Android SDK. So as I mentioned, Kotlin Multi-Platform uses Kotlin JVM for Android and desktop side, and Kotlin native for iOS side. Similarly, Kotlin JS for website, right? So without delaying anything further, let's continue adding the dependencies for our work. So first of all, let's add the kotlinx serialization. We'll be needing this for serialization purpose, right? And then go for multi-platform, this one, pick up this part and use it. Enable it like this for the Kotlin side. You can see Kotlin is entering in the Gradle side as well. So Kotlin is going everywhere. Let's add its version. It was 1.6.1, and now it's asking for use version catalog installed. We have defined the dependency directly, but this project structure is using the version catalog declaration, right? So it will be moving that. And now let's add some other dependencies like these ones. Right. So here you can see in the common main you can write the common dependencies. Similarly for Android main, here you can write Android specific. Similarly, if you go over inside this for iOS specific, right? So let's add the versions as well. So, and it will be asking you again the same thing, use version catalog. Let's move them. And let's remove them from here. Let's sync it now. Cool. Oops. How this map open? And similarly for Ktor, it requires to adding the dependency in the Android side as well, because for some dependencies they requires platform specific libraries as well. For the same library, like for Ktor, it requires client from Ktor Android. Similarly for iOS, it requires Ktor client Darwin. But for now these days, many of the dependencies don't require any other dependencies. They support everything from the core, and we can add them in the common main only, right? So oops, we need to add it inside Android main. What was the version? 2.3.5. Similarly, let's add it here as well. Make it Darwin. Move it to the version catalog. Sync now. Now let's go into here. So now let's say we'll be using this API, random user API, random user.me. So you can check that API. So it will returning random users data. So let's create. So how we can create data class from JSON data. It's very easy. First of all, let's add some directory for holding the data. Now create Kotlin data class from JSON. So for this JSON data, we want to create class. So this plugin is very useful, JSON to Kotlin class. You can try that. Just paste the JSON data and it will be creating the data class for you. So, and what we want to use, val type or val type, nullable, no nullable, all those things. Which library you want to use, you can specify those stuff here. Cool. And one thing which I remember I used this API last time. So basically postcode is here, they are showing it int, but it can be come as string as well. So let's remove this, because if some in the serialization some type have dynamic type, so let's say it can be anything, string or int or anything. So then we need some custom serializer and deserializer for those fields, but that is out of scope for this project. Let's skip this. And now let's add results field as well. So we can create one more class over there. Random user API response. So this will be the response of the API. And again, this will be the data class. So results random user empty list. Let's make it serializable, and let's add serial name. Serial name is basically the name, the field of name of the field which is coming from the network, right? Yep. So now we need to set up the API part. Let's set up the Ktor. Right. Even you can remove this. We can make that public as of now. But usually, while working with professional projects, we will be doing all this stuff using the dependency injection. For that, we can use Koyan, but I'll be covering those things in the coming videos. But here, we'll be just focusing on how we can create Kotlin Multi Platform project and use it in Android and iOS side. So HTTP client, install. We need to install content negotiation. Inside that we need to set up JSON. And few options over there. We can ignore unknown keys. If some keys are missing, it will be ignoring and not showing any errors. And what was that? One other thing. It was, I think, related to, yeah, it was pretty lint. So it will be showing the data in the pretty format. So yeah, that is about the clients, HTTP client, right? And now let's create one repo, one repository for home repository, right? And here let's say random users. We will be using the random users. And here we will be using the http client.get. For http client, this Ktor, I will be covering the separate tutorials related to Ktor, how we can create APIs for the server side, and similarly how we can use Ktor on the client side for consuming the APIs. I will be covering separate tutorials on those. But as of now, you can just think of like it is an HTTP client and we are calling the get method over there, right? So let's put it over there, copy it, the URL, and put it over there, right? And let's make it suspend function, and now response dot body, so it will be random user API response, right? So it will be automatic converting it to that. It will getting the type this one. For otherwise we need to specify. You can see it's generic type. We need to specify type here, but if we have Kotlin automatically intelligently infer the type of this, right? If it will make the return type automatically, the generic type to this body, right? And let's add one more method, get users, or maybe as of now let's continue with this one only. So now let's move on to the Android side, or maybe we can use, if we get time we will come to that. So one more method there, so it will be returning the flow, so we'll be understanding how we can do that. It will be emitting the get random users dot results, if you see flow of list of random user, right? Or we can use get users without flow, and it will be just simple list of random users, will be returning this, right? And we can make this suspend. So we will be collecting this flow in the Android side and iOS side, right? So let's go to the Android side now. If you go there, so let's remove all this stuff. This is in the Android, so yeah, this one is inside the Android main, right? Let's come actually here. So we will be creating separate app here. Let's make one composable function. Android app, and let's define view model here. Before that, we need view model here. Let's add one view model. Even before that, we need to add some dependencies. So view model KTX, you will find them here. Core KTX, collection KTX, lifecycle runtime KTX, view model. We can copy this way. So go to the build.gradle of your Android app and Android and add the dependencies over here in the Android side. So it will be again moving them. Similarly, let's add lifecycle KTX as well for lifecycle collection of the flow with lifecycle. Again, it will be moving to the version catalog, sync it, and let's add one more event dependency over there for coil. You will be using this library for loading the images from the network, right? Again, doing the same thing, sync it and come here. Let's add view model here. If you see, private val underscore users, right? And what is the type is mutable state flow of list of random user, right? And initially we can just use list of empty and now define the public one. That will be the only val users underscore users dot as state flow, right? And let's init inside the init. Before that, let's add home repository as well. Now get users dot collect, and there this will be done inside model scope dot launch, right? And after getting the data, we need to update the users it plus users. So let's slice it to users. It will update the data. So basically here we are doing nothing. It is like whatever the initial data was there, it will add them. So it will update this variable actually, right? So it's cool now, and now we will be collecting that here. First of all, let's define home view model here. By view models, right? And then we will be collecting the our flows over there. So val users home view model users dot collect as state I think we added the wrong dependency. Let's check it. We need to add the lifecycle runtime ktx yeah, this one, lifecycle utilities. Let's go over there and add it. What is the version? 2.6.2, and again it will be moving them. Come back over here with lifecycle. Yeah, we needed this, and we will be passing the users list of random user Android app users equal to users, right? Dot value, because this is a state, right? And here we'll be doing all this stuff, and we can make it private as well. So let's basically we will be displaying the lazy column over here. So inside the lazy column, let's define content padding values. Let's just give it 16.dp, right? And let's vertical arrangement dot center, or maybe space by range, yeah, space by, let's give it 8 dp, right? So here we'll be using the items here, and then we can define user dot, yeah, login dot UUID, that is the unique ID. So we can use that over here, right? And then inside items, what we'll be using is card view, and for card we can just use rounded corner shape, and size can be 15 dp. And we can also define some paddings. So what we can do is we can define 8.dp all paddings, right? And elevation as well, and width as well, fill max width, comma elevation, let's say 2 dp. Oops, I was just trying to reformat it. Okay, cool. And now here what we'll be doing is we'll be using one row, right? And inside the row we will be displaying the image and painter. Remember, sync image painter, I think image painter. Why it's not showing that? We have added the coin, right? Sorry, coil. Yep, coil is already there. But why it's not showing? I think why coil is, let's check it. Coil for Jetpack compose. Yeah, I think we added some wrong dependency there for Android. So we can add this one and remove that, right? Sync it, then use it. And also let's meanwhile add one column over there with the text. Will be showing the user dot name. Let's give it an alias of user dot name dot first and last. And now add this one, you can see, and here we can add user dot pictures dot, let's add thumbnail size only. Cool. And here let's add user dot phone as well, because it is nullable. Let's make it, what is wrong, phone dot to string. Yeah, so what we can do is, let's give image some modifiers like padding and size. Modifier dot padding, let's add 16.dp. Then we can add size as well, let's say 50.dp, right? Now let's try to run it. So we are done with the Android side. Let's see how it goes. Oops, we ran the iOS app. We need to run Android app. Now let's check it once it's done. And also meanwhile we can open our iOS project inside the Xcode. I don't have much knowledge about iOS, but like I'll be creating simple layout over there, because main idea is we need to explore how we can use the Kotlin KMM module inside Android and iOS, right? It's picking up from the cache, I believe. Still using the old layout. Let's clear it from the memory. Yeah, one thing I just remembered, we need to use this permission internet. It's again showing the same error, missing internet permission. Yeah, hopefully it's done. So you can see this data we are fetching from the KMM module. For Android side we are done, but yeah, oops, layout look little bit weird over there. So what we can do is vertical alignment dot center vertically, right? Now you can see it looks good. So now this data we are fetching from the KMM. For Android side we are done. Now let's move to the iOS side. So if first we need to open, you need to click on open existing project, and then let's go to KMM tutorials, KMM app 1, and then iOS app, right? Trust and open. One thing guys we need to do, so basically we need to add this SKIE library. Why SKIE library is because Kotlin native currently don't support cancelling of flows and few other things. For that we need to use SKIE. So we need to add plugin for that. We can check it in its sample. So we can do what? Test apps, Android. Now it will be in the shared part, all shared, yeah. So here we can check it. This plugin we need to apply in the KMM side first, in the shared module. Actually there are two ways. Either we can use this SKIE library or we can use KMP coroutines as well, but setting up of KMP coroutines little bit time taking, challenging. So I'll be doing this. This is like pretty straightforward. Let's apply version here. It's version. So let's check its version on GitHub. For more you can find out its documentation and check out 0.5.5 version 0.5.5. Fine. So try again the sync process. It's done. And now let's move to the iOS side. I'm not so let me make few things clear, because I am not an iOS developer, regular iOS developer, but I usually work with the Android and Kotlin. So most of the time I am working with the Android or like Flutter or the Kotlin KMM. So because of that I don't have much expertise in iOS side. But yeah, let's see few things I know about, so we'll be utilizing them. So first of all, let's create an extension on content view. Here we will be creating our view model, right? So actually view model is the same thing as we use in the Android, but few differences are there in the iOS side, so we will be doing that their ways, right? So let's create one class. One class is view model, and I believe it extends observable object. Here we create view model like this, extending the observable view model. And one thing we need to use is main actor. It will ensure like this data like or APIs we are calling will be running on the main thread. That is the main requirement from Kotlin native, right? So let's use home repository here. It's not picking up the repository, maybe. Yeah, it's not. I did it like Kotlin. I hear the val there instead of, yeah, it is not finding that yet. What we can do is we can try to rebuild it. Maybe it will be picking up the changes because it's not, for iOS it was not built. So now it is building and now we'll be able to use that hopefully. Just comment it as of now. It is building now. So let's try to use them now. Yeah, we can use them now. Repository.init, we can initialize them like this, and now we'll be using the published. So this published, with this annotation we defined what variable that can be published with its changes, and we can observe these changes, right? So here we will be defining the list of random users. Initially it is empty, and then we need to create a function observe data flow. Here we will be observing the flow, right? So for supporting the concurrency we need to use task here, as we use the coroutine scope in Android. Similarly we use here the task. So for await user in home repository dot get user, this method, right? And self dot users dot append, here we will be appending the each user, right? And now let's say why we have defined this extension, because this view model is completely will be used inside this content view, that's why, right? We'll be directly able to use it inside that. And now let's come to the UI part and add the rate. So we need to use observed object because our view model is observable object, but so observed object is how we can use that. Let's define where unknown attribute, right? Yeah, so because here we need to use observed object, it will be observed, changes of this object will be observed, right? Cool. So now let's continue with our body part. Let's remove this, and here we need one list. So okay, so first we need to pass the data for this and then ID as well. So this is like the same, similar to these lambdas in Kotlin. These are closures in Swift, so we'll be using them. So first of all we need to unwrap the user name, user dot name. So what it will be doing is, if it is not null and able to unwrap it right successfully, then this block will be executing. So it will be, if you are not iOS developer, these things will be little difficult to understand, but these are basic things, so you can go through the documentation and understand them. But if you are an iOS developer, then it will not be that difficult. This way even we can specify ID as well. So let's disable preview as of now. So here let's like the column we use vstack here, right? It is similar to, and here let's say if we need rows alternative is h-stack. This is for the columns alternative, then spacer, and then one row here. And we will be using the async image, and its URL will be URL, because we need to load it from network user dot picture dot thumbnail. Fine. So it is nullable. We need to non-assert here, otherwise again it will be required unwrapping here, otherwise it will be required similar to this unwrapping. This is unwrapping. So but what we can do is, because we know this field will be coming every time most of the time, so we can use assertion here, no need to worry. And then let's give some width and height. So let's give 50-50 width and height. Then clip shape. So you can see these things are, if you are an Android developer, these things are similar to the Android side. Corner size we can specify 10-10. So yeah, it is only available in iOS 15 or later, but don't worry, we can change the version because that is the latest version used these days. We can use without a sync image as well, but for that logic is a little bit complex, so that's why using this. This is pretty easy to use. So clip shape is also done, and now again we can use vstack, and we can specify alignment as well. Here we need, because alignment can be in the leading in the start, and here we can place content, right? So here we need actually text itself, so let's use string templates, name dot first, then again string template name dot last, right? So it is nullable. User dot phone, yeah, so it's nullable, so we need to unwrap it, or otherwise we can specify some default value here, right? Phone, and maybe here also we can show some default value. If it is null, so default value will be used. Fine. And while list view will be appearing, then we can start observing the data, right? So let's try to run it. So main advantages of Kotlin multi-platform are like we are not forced to use the complete code. Even we can do the UI part in Android and iOS native so that look and feel will be looking good. And only the logic shared business logic part will be shared. So here we need to pass view model. So that's the pretty good thing about the Kotlin multi-platform. Even if you want to share the complete UI as well, compose multi-platform is also coming, and that is also come, but for iOS still it is in alpha, but by the 2024 it will be becoming beta for the iOS and alpha for the web, from experimental to alpha for the web and from alpha to beta for the iOS. But it has a lot of more options than other frameworks. It does not, yeah, it looks cool. Doesn't it look cool? Yeah, to me it looks cool. Yeah, because I made it, so ultimately it will be looking cool to me. So yeah, so this is about Kotlin multi-platform, guys. So you can see we did complete implementation of the UI in the Android and iOS natively, but we used the API stuff from the iOS side. So main advantage you can see is only we can share business logic as well. If we want to share UI, that also we can do, and I'll be doing that in the upcoming videos as well. So here we just share the business logic, and that's pretty cool. So because let's say if we want to use the same APIs for iOS and Android side, both side, so why would we like to replicate the code? Because the APIs will be same for our app, right? So why we will be doing the replication of that code? So instead of that we can use Kotlin multi-platform, and also many big companies are moving to Kotlin multi-platform. Even Netflix also have moved to this. Many more companies are also there. You can check out the showcase of the Kotlin multi-platforms. So many app companies are moving to the, you can see here in the case studies, McDonald's, Netflix, 9gag, Cash App, Philips, Autodesk, Meetup, Flow, Cashew, Memrise, VMware, TouchLab, IceRock. Many companies are over there which are using these. So guys, this is all about the Kotlin multi-platform. I hope you guys have understood how it works. So basically it is compiled into different codes. So for Android it is compiled into the it is compiled using the Kotlin JVM. So using inside the JVM machine, it is for used for Android, and similarly for iOS, it is compiled to the native binaries which don't require any JVM or any virtual machine. So native binaries can be independent of the platform; they can be used. So for iOS, it is using the Kotlin native for that, using the creating the native binaries and then using that in the iOS side using the XE framework. For Android, they are just creating the normally uh, bytecode or those things for the JVM side, right? As it is usually do in Android. So this is all about, guys, Kotlin multi-platform. I hope you guys now have got the idea of Kotlin multi-platform, and we created one cool app in the Kotlin multi-platform for Android and iOS both. So yeah, that was all about Kotlin multi-platform. I will see you guys in the upcoming video. So if you found it useful, guys, please a humble request, please like it, share it and comment on it, and that will motivate me to create more videos like this. So I will see you in the upcoming video. Till then, bye bye, take care, have a great time, keep coding.